Welcome back, everybody. Today's deep dive takes us into some pretty interesting territory art, symbolism, even a bit of philosophy.
Sound intriguing.
Oh, it is. We're going to be focusing on this watercolor painting called Object Trove.
Okay, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it in person, though.
It's pretty amazing. And we've actually got a few sources to help us unpack it all. A YouTube video that breaks down the painting itself, and then some excerpts from books on Zen philosophy, the I Ching, and a little art history thrown in for good measure.
Wow, a real mix. So what's the mission for today? What are we hoping to learn from all this?
Well, we're going to try to understand how this single painting, this object trove, can lead us to some pretty big ideas like thinking about impermanence, transformation, even the idea of letting go. Stuff that's relevant to everyone, no matter who you are or what you do.
I like it. It's amazing how art can do that, isn't it? Take something seemingly simple and just open up these huge questions about life.
It really is.
Yeah.
So let's actually start with the painting itself. Imagine you're standing right in front of Object Trove. What's the first thing that grabs your attention?
Well, for me, it'd be that central image, the one that looks like a moth. Or maybe it's a butterfly. The cool thing is, it's intentionally kind of undefined.
Yeah.
Like, the artist doesn't want to tell you exactly what it is.
Right. And that ambiguity, that's actually our first clue, that there's something deeper going on here. It's not just a pretty picture of a bug.
Exactly. The artist is already making us think, what is this? What's it supposed to represent?
I love that. Me
Yeah.
too. Okay, so we've got this mysterious moth butterfly thing.
Yeah.
What about the colors? How do they add to the whole mood of the painting?
The colors are key. They're soft, almost hazy, washes of yellow, orange, a little green, and they kind of blend into the background, creating this dreamlike, ephemeral feel. Almost like the image itself could just fade away at any moment.
Ooh, I like that word, ephemeral. It really captures that fleeting, temporary vibe.
Yeah.
And then there's that black border, right, around the whole image. How does that play into everything?
Yes. The border. It's this textured, almost rough black that surrounds the delicate moth or butterfly. It's jarring. It's a huge contrast.
Yeah.
But that actually makes the central image seem even more fragile, almost otherworldly.
So we've got this delicate creature, this ethereal vibe, set against this harsh black. It definitely feels like the artist is hinting at something beyond just what we're seeing on the surface, right?
Totally. And that's where Zen philosophy comes in.
Ooh, okay. Bring on the Zen.
Right. So you might be wondering why moths are a big deal in Zen. Why do they represent impermanence?
I actually was wondering that.
Well, it all goes back to the moth's life cycle.
Mm.
Caterpillar to cocoon, and then finally to that winged creature. That whole process, it embodies the constant change and renewal that's at the heart of Zen.
Got it. So it's not just that moths are short-lived, but that they go through this radical transformation.
Exactly. They're a perfect symbol for how nothing stays the same, everything is always in flux, and Zen is all about accepting that, even embracing it.
That makes a lot of sense. The YouTube video we're looking at, it actually mentions that the moth's gentle colors suggest the fleeting beauty of existence, a life that is both fragile and luminous. What a line. How would you say that ties into Zen's focus on living in the present moment?
I love that quote. It's so evocative. And yeah, I think it's a beautiful reminder that nothing lasts forever. But instead of fearing that, Zen encourages us to see the beauty in that. Just like the moth, our lives are precious because they are temporary, constantly changing. So each moment becomes even more valuable.
Absolutely. It makes you want to savor every experience knowing it won't last. Okay, so we've got the Zen perspective. Now I'm curious, how would another ancient tradition view object trove? Say the I Ching. It's all about change and cycles too, right?
It is. And there's one hexagram that immediately comes to mind when I think about this painting. Hexagram 49, revolution, or sometimes it's called molting.
Revolution or molting. Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the significance there and how does it connect to what we're seeing in object trove?
Well, in the I Ching, revolution symbolizes a time of huge change, like shedding old skin, making way for the new. It sounds familiar, right? Kind of like that moth transformation we were just talking about.
It totally does. So both Zen and the I Ching are picking up on these themes of change and renewal in object trove. But would you say they approach those ideas differently at all?
That's a great question. I'd say there are some nuances. Zen is very much about acceptance, seeing change as just the natural order of things. The I Ching, on the other hand, it's more like a guidebook on how to navigate change, how to align yourself with those universal forces to make sure the transformation is positive.
So like a roadmap for dealing with life's inevitable ups and downs.
Exactly. It gives you a framework for understanding those shifts, for
Yeah.
working with them instead of against them.
Wow, I'm already seeing object trove in a whole new light. But let's shift gears a bit. Where would you say this piece fits in with art history in general? It's clearly not a Renaissance portrait or anything like that.
You're right. It's got a very modern feel. Object Trove actually has strong ties to abstract expressionism, a movement that really took off in the mid-20th century. Think color washes, suggestive forms, a focus on capturing an essence rather than super realistic details. All those elements are there.
So instead of showing us a perfectly detailed moth, the artist wants us to fill in the blanks ourselves, bring our own feelings and interpretations to the piece.
Exactly. It's less about what the artist is saying and more about a dialogue between the artwork and the viewer. You're an active participant in the creative process, which I think is really cool.
It's definitely engaging. Okay, so we've got this link to abstract expressionism. Does that then tie into anything broader happening in the art world? Like what was going on in the post-war period that might have influenced this piece?
Oh, absolutely. After World War II, there was this major shift away from literal representation in art. It was like artists were rejecting the old ways, searching for new meaning in a world that had been through so much trauma.
That makes sense. So Object Trove, with its abstract moth and suggestive style, it's a reflection of that time, that desire to express something deeper, something beyond just the surface.
Precisely. And that search for meaning, it's something that continues to resonate with us today, don't you think?
For sure. It's incredible how this one seemingly simple painting can connect us to all these larger historical and cultural forces. But let's zoom back in for a sec. What are some of the key symbols at play in Object Trove that really stand out to you? We've talked about the moth, the colors, the abstract style. What else is grabbing your attention?
Hmm. Well, one thing that strikes me is the play of light and dark.
Hmm.
You have those luminous wings set against that dark, textured background. And it's not just a visual thing. It really reflects this fundamental idea we find in both Eastern and Western thought, the balance of opposites.
Like yin and yang in Taoism, that idea that seemingly opposite forces are actually interconnected, complementary.
Exactly. The light and dark in Object Trove, it mirrors those opposing forces we encounter in life. Joy and sorrow, creation and destruction, life and death. It's a visual reminder that these things aren't separate, they're intertwined. One can't exist without the other.
Ooh, that's deep. And especially powerful when you consider the context of post-war modernism. It's like the painting is acknowledging both the darkness and the potential for light, for renewal.
Exactly. It's a very nuanced message.
Now, another symbol that I'm curious about is the moth's flight, that sense of movement, of heading towards the unknown. What do you make of that?
Ah, the flight. I think that's a powerful metaphor for letting go of attachments, for embracing uncertainty. It's very Taoist, actually, that idea of yielding, of moving with the flow of life instead of resisting it.
So not about clinging to a specific outcome, but being open to wherever the journey takes you.
Yes. It's trusting the process even when things feel uncertain.
It's a beautiful metaphor. And it also makes me think about the artist's process, too.
Oh, how so?
Well, Object Trove isn't about perfect realism, is it? It's about expression, about capturing an essence. It's like the artist had to let go of control, embrace imperfection, trust that the artwork would find its own form.
Ah, I see what you mean. That's a great observation. It's like that quote we talked about earlier about the fleeting beauty of existence. The artist is suggesting that true beauty lies not in perfect forms, but in that ephemerality, that constant change.
It's almost like a challenge to the viewer, isn't it? To approach our own WN lives with that same openness, that willingness to embrace the unexpected.
I love that, and I think you're spot on.
So, wow, we've covered a lot of ground here. From
Yeah.
Zen and the I Ching to art history and the symbolism woven into the painting itself. Object Trove has become this amazing portal to all these different ideas and perspectives.
It really is remarkable how much we've uncovered just from this one watercolor. And you know what? I think we've only just scratched the surface. It's amazing how Object Trove acts as this kind of bridge. It
Yeah.
connects these ideas from Zen, the I Ching, even modern art, and it shows us how they're all wrestling with those same big questions about change and meaning in life.
Right. It's like the painting is starting a conversation, and everyone's invited to bring their own thoughts and interpretations to the table.
I like that. And that openness to multiple perspectives, it fits so well with that Zen idea of direct experience, seeing things without all those preconceived notions.
So instead of looking for one right answer, we're supposed to embrace the mystery, the ambiguity. let the questions that Object Trove raises just kind of hang in the air.
Exactly. It's not about finding a solution. It's about
Mhm.
the process of thinking about it, of opening yourself up to new possibilities, which is a very Zen approach when you think about it.
It is. And that openness, it's reflected in the painting style too, isn't it? The brushstrokes are loose, the colors blend into each other. It's all very fluid, undefined, kind of like that moth butterfly itself.
You're right. And that fluidity you're picking up on, it connects to another Taoist concept, wu wei. Often it's translated as non-action,
Mm.
but it's more nuanced than that. It's more like effortless action, or acting in harmony with the natural flow of things.
So instead of forcing things, it's about letting them unfold naturally,
Hmm.
trusting the process. Kind of like how the moth flies, It's not fighting the wind, it's surrendering to it.
Beautiful analogy. It's about recognizing that even in uncertainty, even in chaos, there's an inherent order to things. Like things are unfolding as they should, even when we don't understand it.
It's interesting because Object Trove seems simple at first glance. But we've uncovered all these universal themes: change, impermanence, the balance of opposites. These are ideas that have resonated with people across cultures for centuries.
That's the power of art, isn't it? It taps into those fundamental human experiences and it connects us to something bigger than ourselves. It's like a universal language.
Just like Object Trove is this visual representation of the human condition,
Yeah.
our constant state of flux, our search for meaning in a world that never stands still.
And amidst that change, amidst all that impermanence, there's this profound beauty, this fleeting, luminous quality that the painting captures so well.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it's there. It's like the artist is saying, even though nothing lasts forever, there's still incredible beauty to be found in every moment.
And it's not just about finding beauty in things outside of ourselves, like a painting, but also in that constant flux of our own thoughts, emotions, experiences, the beauty of just being alive.
It makes you think about the creative process too. The artist, they had to let go of control, accept imperfection, trust the process. And in doing that, they created something truly beautiful and meaningful.
It's a great lesson for all of us, whether we consider ourselves artists or not. We can all benefit from cultivating that openness, that willingness to let go of rigid expectations, to embrace the present moment with all its imperfections.
This deep dive has been quite a journey, hasn't it? We started with one painting, and we've ended up exploring all these fascinating philosophical and spiritual concepts.
And I love how it all comes together so seamlessly in Object Trove. It's like a tapestry woven from all these different threads. Zen, the I Ching, art history.
It's making me think in new ways, that's for sure. I feel like we could talk about this painting for hours. But before we get too carried away, let's take a moment to just gather our thoughts. We'll be back in a minute to wrap up our exploration of Object Trove, and we'll leave you with one final, thought-provoking question to ponder. And we're back. I don't know about you, but I'm still processing all these ideas we've been discussing about Object Trove. It really is remarkable how much depth and meaning we can find in just one watercolor.
Yeah, it speaks volumes about the power of symbolism, right?
Hmm.
How an image, like that moth, can connect us to universal truths, things that go beyond time and culture.
Absolutely. And Object Trove, with its delicate moth and those subtle colors and the abstract style, it's just overflowing with symbolic meaning.
It really is, and we've just begun to peel back the layers of that symbolism, haven't we? We've talked about Zen principles like impermanence and non-attachment, the Taoist idea yielding. We've even touched on how the painting reflects post-war modernism in the art world.
Right. And it's amazing how Object Trove brings all these ideas together. It's like a meeting point for different philosophies, different artistic movements, and they're all trying to grapple with those big questions about change and finding meaning in life. It's pretty powerful stuff to contemplate, even after we're done with this deep dive.
I agree. It's definitely something to keep in mind as you reflect on the artwork. And I think one of the big takeaways for me is that it's not just about looking at a painting and saying, oh, that's pretty. It's about really engaging with it, letting it spark your own thoughts and self-discovery.
It's like the painting is a mirror, in a way. It's reflecting our own inner world back to us, our own journeys of change and becoming.
Exactly. And that brings us to our final thought, a question for everyone listening. Imagine you were creating a piece of art to symbolize impermanence. What would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good one. It really makes you think, what would your art look like? Would it be a photo capturing a fleeting moment? A sculpture made of melting ice? Or maybe a performance that only exists for a short time?
The possibilities are endless, really. And there's no right or wrong answer, is there? The real magic is in the exploration, in finding your own personal meaning in the idea of impermanence.
That's what makes art so special. It gets our imaginations going, it helps us connect with deeper truths, and ultimately it inspires us to live more consciously, more creatively.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Object Trove, let's take a moment to appreciate everything we've discovered along the way. We've explored the moth as a symbol, we've seen how the painting connects to Zen and the I Ching, and we've delved into its historical context. But more than that, we've considered how these ideas can enrich our own lives, how they can encourage us to embrace change, to find beauty in imperfection, and to live more fully in the present moment.
It's been a fascinating conversation. I always learned so much from these deep dives.
Me too. And I hope everyone listening has enjoyed joining us on this journey. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world of art and ideas. We'll see you next time.